everyone, this is ZNG, and I'm here to give my first impressions of the Season 4 premiere of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Now, this isn't really going to be a scripted thing. I have a couple of bullet points I'd like to talk about, but I feel I've always wanted to get into the analysis community, so I feel like this would be a better time than ever than the beginning of a Season 2, throw my 2 cents and throw my hat into the ring, more or less. To start with, I'd like to talk about the opening, which I know every brony was excited for because it showed Rainbow teaching Twilight how to fly, and I know a lot of bronies' worries came from this at the end of Magical Mystery Cure at the end, when Twilight could suddenly fly even though she got her wings a little while ago, and I know everyone was like, no, she can't fly, she got those a little while ago, how would she know how to fly? But I'm glad the writers took into consideration that was just gliding or something, and in Equestria Girls, and even now, she's still having difficulty flying. And while I personally wanted an entire episode dedicated to this, I'm not disappointed in the fact that it only got maybe a subplot of the episode. If they continue with this throughout the season, I would be very happy with that, but you know what? If this is all we get for Twilight's struggle with flying, I'll actually be very happy with that. I'm just glad that the writers addressed that. The next thing I want to talk about is Twilight's physical change, and it's so subtle that if you're not really looking for it, at least I think, if you're not looking for it, you're never going to notice it. But if you look at Twilight between Magical Mystery Cure and even Equestria Girls, you can see that she's already changing into an alicorn-like state. Her neck is getting longer, her horn's getting longer, she's getting a little taller than her friends. So she's slowly turning into the basic alicorn state that Celestia, Luna, and Cadence are even at. I don't know why alicorns suddenly have to become anorexic whenever they turn to princesses, but you know what? This is Equestria. Anything goes, and I'm willing to accept that. But I appreciate that they're just making this a slow build and not just like, boom, she's suddenly taller than everyone else in the world. No. It's just small changes, and if they continue to show these changes throughout the season with her getting slightly taller and taller, you know, a little bit over time, that would be great. You know, here's hoping that that's what's going to happen. A little funny ism I found in this was whenever the sun and the moon aren't being controlled, that means they're both up. Whenever Celestia and Luna aren't in power, both celestial bodies are up. I'm just gonna ask, is that the default setting now for Equestria, is that both celestial bodies are up? I don't know, what do you think? Just tell me in the comments how do you think that works, or if there's a reason for that. Another thing that I thought was nice they did, and this is more of a continuity thing that I appreciated, is the fact that even the clouds of the Everfree Forest were getting out of control. Because I remember when they were explaining the Everfree Forest, they were saying, oh, the animals take care of themselves, the plants grow on their own, and the weather controls itself. But showing that that's a problem that they brought that back up, I just thought was a little bit of a nice ism that they had, that Rainbow can control them, and she was trying to, you know, coax them into going back, which I thought was funny. So, yeah, a little nice bit of continuity right there. Right. But in coming with the fact that even the weather and the animals and everything about the Everfree Forest grows on its own, and we learn in part 2 that the Everfree Forest can and will grow at a constant rate if not held up by the Tree of Harmony, I have to ask, what is the Everfree Forest? It's clear that the Everfree Forest is something entirely. It's a manufactured thing. It's not a simple nature thing. Because as we can see in the Heartswarming Eve episode, the Everfree Forest was not a problem, so obviously this was a problem. But it wasn't a problem when Discord was around, so some point between the foundation of Equestria and the princesses coming into power, the Everfree Forest was made. I really, really hope the writers have the sense to explain how the Everfree Forest works. Because it's very clear now that the Everfree Forest is not just a danger when you go in, it is a constant threat that they have to worry about. Even with the tree, it's something to worry about. So please, writers, please don't just ignore the fact that you just made the most horrible thing in Equestria right in the middle of it, and do not explain it. Just, please don't do that. Please explain what it is. Another bit of continuity that I noticed is that Pinky Sense is a thing now. Now, I know everyone hates the episode Pinky Sense, and believe me, it's not my favorite either, but I appreciate how Pinky Sense is still a thing. Because I would hate for them to write that whole episode and then Pinky Sense never be a thing. And then they mention it again in It's About Time. So I'm just glad they're bringing it back up again, even though Pinky Sense actually should have been mentioned a couple more times in the series, but the fact that they're mentioning it now, I appreciate. And now we come to my favorite part of all of the opening of this season, and probably the thing that will make Season 4 my favorite season. The fact that Discord is, well, by comparison, heavily used in this season. Discord is pretty much my favorite thing in My Little Pony. I love Rarity, I love all of them, but Discord is my favorite thing. I'm with KP, he's the best thing ever. But I find his behavior, at least in the opening, to be completely canon. Because even though Discord clearly wants friendship, it's something that is important to him to some degree. He doesn't know how to receive friendship, at least not yet. Or maybe he doesn't feel the need to make other friends now that he has Fluttershy. But the fact that he's still very rude to the main six, he still pokes fun at them, he still doesn't know when he's hurting people's feelings. Or if he does, he has a complete disregard for it. I think it's perfectly in canon. Except for one little moment in his appearance in this episode, at least, is whenever he not only gets Fluttershy's name wrong, but confuses her with Rainbow Dash. To me, that is too mean for Discord, and I'll justify it by saying this. You don't forget your first best friend. You don't. I still remember my best friend from kindergarten. She was like the best thing that ever happened to me. You don't forget your first friend, or at least the first person to reach out and say, hey, I want to be your friend. It's just not something you forget, or take lightly, especially with the way Discord was handling it and Keep Calm and Flutter On. So, I would count that as just the writers trying to be funny. To me, that's not something he would do. At least to me. Oh, and, Discord singing Winter Wrap-Up. Best thing ever. Alright, and now for not my favorite thing, but the most interesting thing I found in this episode was the fact that Twilight used dark magic to activate the Deus Ex Machina potion. I can see that as being a great potential for the upcoming season, and I'll say it by this. With every villain or force that Twilight has come up against, she can't defeat it on her own at all without using the elements of harmony. Nightmare Moon, none of her magic worked on her. Discord, the only magic that worked on him was to deter him from doing something with the main six, I don't know, but that bubble thing. Or with Queen Chrysalis, she could do nothing with her. But with Sombra, her using dark magic defeated his door. But that can open a gateway, like, what if she thinks that's the only kind of magic that she thinks she can use that's powerful enough to defeat forces, and that's why she's using it? Maybe she thinks that that's the only kind of alicorn magic that she can possibly use. And what if she keeps using this kind of magic continuously throughout the season and it corrupts her? And it turns her into something horrible like Sombra. I don't know, that's probably not gonna happen, but that's just what I'm hoping will happen. Or, not hoping, but it would really make for a good story if Twilight was suddenly corrupted by the dark magic she's clearly feeling free to use at this point. And now, for the final thing I have in the bullet points, at least for part 1, is the last scene. The first thing we ever knew about this particular episode was the flashback scene with Luna. And I gotta tell you folks, I was not disappointed with what DHX brought. The background was gorgeous. Everything, the design, the way it looked, the lighting was great. Tabitha St. Germain, give yourself a hand. That was a beautiful performance on your part. It was very dramatic, it was very powerful. And then the DHX people just made a beautiful kick-ass effect out of her turning into Nightmare Moon. it took my breath away. I was blown away by that scene. And those are my first impressions of Princess Twilight Sparkle Part 1. I will be posting a video about Part 2 in the coming future. I just need to get my brain around that, because there's a lot of great things about Part 2 that I like. Even if the third act is a little... Anyways, not the point. So if you guys have if you disagree on any points, you have a different opinion, if you interpreted it differently, just comment down below. I would love to hear what you guys thought of this too. Just keep the discussion going. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. I would appreciate that very much. And I hope to talk to you guys again soon. Have a lovely day, bronies. I will see you another day.